Hello, guys. Welcome to Conversations on Faith and Family. I'm here with my wife, Raylene.
Hi guys.
Um, yeah, so we're getting right into it again. We're on part three of our series, How to Manage a Godly Home. And there's no one better to have as a guest today. Our next point is going to be on time management. And we actually have a special guest here. My wife's going to introduce her.
Woohoo! I'm so excited. We have one of my awesome, amazing friends. You may or may not know her, but you will today. Her name is Karly Santiago, and she is a wife. She is a mother, a parent, a business owner. She's in ministry. She does it all, guys. I look up to her very much and have a high respect for her. And so we wanted to introduce her today on the show and just welcome her. Hi, Karly.
Hi guys.
Hi. How are you this morning?
Good. Glad to be with you guys.
Oh, good. So, as you know, our series is on how to manage a godly home, and this segment is on time management. And you juggle a lot of things. Maybe you can let us know a little bit about the things that you do on a day-to-day or even a weekly basis.
Um, I feel like I'm always running, and it's in a good way and a bad way, because sometimes I feel like I run two businesses. I am in ministry at church. I help my husband run his ministry at church. And then my most important job is that I'm a wife and a mother. And so I feel like we're constantly have things on our plate, have things on our schedule. And it's crazy times, but good times, as long as you are putting the right attitude to everything that you do. And that's kind of my motto is as long as your attitude towards it is positive, then you can get through anything. You can juggle anything. But
Definitely. Well, so my number one question would be to you is how do you manage your time?
well, I appreciate you guys feeling like I do a good job at it. So most days I feel like I'm doing a terrible job, but I look back and I feel like I do have some good ways to deal with time management and to fit everything in because, as you heard, I do a lot and sometimes it is overwhelming. But um, my main thing is that I put the Lord first. And every time I do that, things just end up working themselves out. And even when I feel like they're not. And the days that I don't put the Lord first, I don't ask for Him for help. Um, Things kind of seem to get out of control, a little crazy, and my attitude starts to get a little, you know, unsavory. So so usually I spiritually I need to do that, but physically is I have to make a list. I have to write a calendar. My husband always laughs at me because I write things down on a calendar or I make notes, and he's like, "Why don't you just put it in your phone?" But that's not what works for me. So you have to find what works for you as far as knowing what's on your plate and how much you can handle.
Yes.
I am a big proponent in saying no. And I don't say no to the Lord,
Mm.
but physically, I know what my boundaries are. Physically, I know what my family's boundaries are. So I have to be careful in being a good steward of my time and not overloading my family or even myself with things. There's plenty of things that I want to do and go, but I have work and I work for myself. So that's really hard. I'm my own boss. But so I have to make the proper time to make sure that that's running smoothly so I'm not overwhelmed in other places. And then just put my priorities in order, the Lord and my spouse, my kids, whatever they need, as much as they need. And then I have to do my business and ministry at the same time.
Yeah. So that's good. That's really, really important. I like that you said that, your priorities and the Lord is first. And that's the same for Manuel and I is, the Lord is always first in our home. And I think once we put him first, he honors that and he kind of makes everything else kind of flow into place for us. So awesome. Thank you for that, Karly.
Yeah.
My next question would be, how do you maintain your spiritual life and ministry?
Um, I think again, knowing my limits, I want to do so much in my church, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners love working in the church and they love serving because our heart for the Lord is so big, and we want to be the best that we can be for the Lord and then for the others around us. Because of course, once we come to the Lord, we want to spread His love and we want to do things for Him to let other people know how much He loves them. And ministry is a huge part of that inside of our church. But I have to maintain my main ministry first, which is my home. And so when I'm able to maintain that ministry by making sure that my family's needs are taken care of and we're not overworked, then I can spiritually remove, not remove, but uh, separate myself and do that at the church as well. So I'm able to do both, but without overworking myself, without burning myself out spiritually. I think we do that a lot. We get into too much, and because we're excited, not for ill reasons or anything like that, but because we just want to do everything, and we don't realize that every decision that we make affects every area of our life. So it's
Yes.
not just like, oh, well, the dishes can wait. But again, if the dishes are waiting for 5 days because you're out doing all of this stuff, it's kind of affecting everything.
Right.
Um, and I've been in that position where we're like, oh my gosh, like our home is not right. And spiritually, that burdens me because then I can't properly allow myself to be free in other areas to balance because one area is way unbalanced. So if I just have to realize that my home is first, my first ministry, and then I'm able to do that. So if I'm giving my best to my home, then my home is at its best. Then I can give the rest to everyone else, which it would be my best because I feel great. I feel not burdened and I feel not stressed out. So I'm able to do both.
Yeah. I love that you said, sorry for the noise, guys. I like that you said that your number one ministry is your family. A lot of people get that priority mixed up, and our ministry is our family. That's number one. And when the Lord sees us taking care of His sheep, His children, His son or daughter,
Yeah.
I think that brings Him much joy. And then then there's our church ministry, and I know we want to tackle everything like you said, and we want to do everything, and it's because we have good spirits and we're excited and we want to do things for the kingdom of God. But you know, taking thing one thing at a time, and like you said, not putting too much on your plate. I am subject to that too. I tend to want to take on so much, and you know, I think
Yeah.
when you take on what you can handle and you do that, you can do that with excellence instead of having so many things and not being able to be excellent in all these areas because it's just not going to happen. It's not realistic. So
Exactly.
thank you for that. That was really good. My last, I guess, question I would say is what tips would you give other women who are in your shoes? So a wife, a business owner, a mother. What maybe two or three tips that you would give them that are maybe practical that they can apply to their everyday life?
I would say what I tell most women who are very busy is that it's okay not to do everything. It's okay to not be a superwoman. And there's days where I feel like a superwoman. The house is mopped even, like it's like spotless. And then there's some days where I told you earlier the dishes have not been done for 5 days. So there's a delicate balance, and you're not going to have the balance every day. Rarely will you have the perfect balance. So just keep going. Every day is new. If you messed up one day, like one day you yelled at the kids and they were being crazy, and you feel like, man, I'm overworked today. Well, let's reevaluate and do it again tomorrow. It doesn't mean that you're a bad parent. It doesn't mean that you're a bad wife because one day was just really bad. We all have bad days. And I would also say that make sure to take time for yourself to reevaluate.
That's
Figure
good.
out um, where you can scale back if you are overwhelmed. where can you, if you are in ministry, do you have someone that you could hand it off to, or co-run it with? Is there somebody that you can lean on to know, because you can't do everything alone. And I think, again, as women, we feel like we should be able to do everything alone, but it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be a little vulnerable with your small circle. And so take time for yourself, figure out where you want to go, what your goals are, and how you can integrate that into your family life without overworking yourself, because that is the most important. We can do everything, but we shouldn't do everything. So.
Well, thank you so much, Karly, for coming on. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to speak with us.
Of course.
Your points were amazing and right on, and I agree with you 100%. And actually, you spoke to me this morning, so thank you.
You're welcome. It was great talking with you guys.
And I'm gonna go ahead and let you go, Karly. I know you probably have tons of things you got to tackle on for today, and I just want to say thank you for coming on.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
All right. Well, we thank you, Karly, for being on. That was fantastic. One of the things we want to do is I want to give you a few of our points. I know that Karly gave us some, and what's crazy is a lot of our points are actually very similar to Karly's points, which kind of gives us peace that we're
doing the right thing.
We're doing the right thing, right?
Going in the right direction.
Yeah. So let's run through these. I know we kept you long enough, and the wisdom Karly gave you is far better than maybe what we'll give you, but these are what helps us with time management. First one is, I think you should lead this one.
It's okay to say no. Exactly what Karly said. That's what we wrote down as well. As it's okay sometimes to just say no. I can't do this. I have something else I need to take care of, and go on your priority list. Is this hitting your priority list? Is this what you should be focusing your time and efforts on? If it's really not, then you can, say no, and hopefully your friends are friends and will respect that and know your situation, that you have to manage your time wisely.
Yeah, the second point we have is there's not enough hours in the day to do everything. You have to be okay with it. I think sometimes, I think Karly elaborated on this, is sometimes we try to be a superhero, and we can be a superhero. Sometimes we let the dishes pile up, and that's okay, but sometimes we do have to take care of it. We have to be okay with allowing those dishes to pile up sometimes. Yeah, we'll get to it, but we have to be okay with it and not condemn ourselves for it. I think that's the biggest thing, is we have this expectation that, there's somebody watching us, and if we don't clean the house, if we don't, have it to our standards, then we're going to get in trouble. Like, no one's competing against anyone.
It's not an Olympic competition, guys.
Yeah.
As much as you want to win the gold and you want to be, the best VIP gold winner, it's not a competition.
Which brings us to our next point. This is not an Olympic competition.
Right.
There's no gold medal in the end. And again, that's huge. Don't put these expectations on yourself that aren't real.
Right.
The only one that's looking at you is your husband, your wife, and God.
God.
That is it. No one else is judging you. And I promise you, God is not going to condemn you or give you a hard time because you didn't wash the dishes last night. That's not true. Or wash the clothes, whatever it is. So next thing is take things as they come, one at a time. This is a good point. Sweetie, I think maybe you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, just take things one thing at a time. Take your day in 15-minute increments. Okay, these 15 minutes, this is what I'm going to get done. And I'm going to put everything I can into getting this done. Then, boom, you're done. You've known that you've worked with excellence. You've served, whether it's cooking dinner, you've served an amazing dinner to your family. Now we're on to the next thing. Let's get ready for church. Just take one thing at a time. When you try to do everything, sometimes you end up doing nothing. So one thing at a time, put all your efforts toward that one thing, and you'll get things done.